Hello, so today I want to talk about something slightly different, so nothing technical, but something that could help someone out there in the role that they're in or things that they're trying to do in their life. Now, I feel like we don't talk enough about our mental health in the workspace or the people that surround us, and we don't remind each other that it's okay if an environment is not the best environment for you, that you can find something else that's different. You may be uncomfortable and it may be new, and there may be perceptions around you, removing yourself from that kind of environment, but we should remind ourselves that we shouldn't have to die just to be in one position, and we should be okay moving to something else, or some other place where we can thrive and be the best version of ourselves. So I just figured maybe it's something worth talking about, because we're all trying to aspire to something, whether it's in business, whether it's at work, or maybe sometimes even with family. We're trying to do things over and over just to make sure that, what we have aspired to do, we can achieve. But sometimes it's not always an easy route. Now, specifically my experience I'm anchoring on is around the work environment and how it can sometimes be really challenging. So I was just thinking about this a few days ago and I thought I'd share. But I was once in a role where, if you've been an audit trainee or you've been in a partnership firm, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And especially if you do not look like the rest of the people that work with you. That's not to say you're any different or people will always treat you different. But in some instances, you may have to do a lot more or go way above or go way beyond what others are doing just to achieve the same thing. Now, if you don't fall into this category, obviously you do not understand what I'm saying, so don't even worry about it. But those that do understand what I am saying, that you do need to put in a lot more to achieve the same result as those that maybe look like the norm. Now, anyway, I was in this role and I wasn't even a trainee at that time, but I was a manager. And as a manager, you are expecting to, be managing jobs, managing clients, managing specific tasks. And so when I started out this role, very ambitious. I'm generally, I think, an ambitious person, but I went in, ready to change the world. Like, I had all these aspirations, things I'm going to do differently, things I'm going to change, things I'm going to achieve for myself in terms of progression, and how quickly I was going to do it. Now, because I started later or much later than the rest of the peer group, I got what I'd say the scraps in terms of the clients. So all the clients that this business had were already allocated to people and had other managers or directors or partners working on them. So obviously I got what wasn't new, but what people didn't want, and that's okay because that's what usually happens. So I would get like all of these clients that were not great, but that didn't deter me. I was like, what, I'm going to do this different, I'm going to manage this in a different way and set out what I wanted to do, and that worked pretty well. I fit in quickly and I was working with everyone okay. But over time I started to realize that my jobs were a bit of a struggle. Now, not in the actual technical sense, but I didn't have enough people to work with. So I'm supposed to be managing this client or managing this job. I didn't have a big enough team to work on the job, so that already means we're understaffed. Now we're understaffed, that's going to affect the quality of the work, the timeliness of delivery, and just pressure. You're taking work home. I mean, we always take work home, but there are some extents that are just extreme. You're working on weekends, you're working every other day. The only thing you can think about is work. And it started to get really worse over time, where I didn't have anyone really to assist on my job. So I'd be doing the actual work, like I'd go and sit with the client, document things that other people are supposed to be doing and trying to understand the business, but also having to come back and then do my own role. So manage the job, managing myself, essentially reviewing my own work, which is not supposed to happen. And I'm also, setting budgets and things like that for all of these clients. It wasn't easy at all. And then when the supervisor or the partner comes in to review, there's all these review questions because they also don't understand the client. So I have to go back and do that if I haven't already documented that. But there was a lot of pressure and I started to feel it. Okay, I was starting to feel it. And it wasn't easy. Now, what happens typically is you want to deliver and you want to do a good job. So you will die if you have to just to deliver these things. When in our industry, when you have a deadline and you have to file, let's say, accounts, they have to be filed. So nobody cares if you don't have stuff or if you don't have a team to work with you or anything, no one cares. It has to be done. And I think that's where a lot of people suffer, because they still have to deliver what needs to be done. So they're not eating well, and that starts to affect your health. They're not sleeping, they're not interacting with family members. They don't have time for anything but work, and the work still doesn't get done in time. And it got so bad, I thought I was coping, and I would keep pushing myself. I was working on weekends. I remember at a certain time, I would wake up on a weekend, like on a Saturday, and normally on a weekend you're doing everything else other than work, but I would just wake up and start crying, because I'd be thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do this hasn't been done, I have no one else to do it. Like, I have the whole lot on myself. Now, was it a difficult job? No, it wasn't a difficult job at all. Could I have said this? Yes, and I did to some extent, but I think the dilemma sometimes is you don't want to dwell on the challenges because of perception. Sometimes it starts to look like you're struggling with something, so you tend to take it upon yourself and want to do it so that you can deliver. But I was really struggling then with the workload and everything that was happening, and that wasn't just one client, by the way. It was a lot of clients that I had on my plate, but understaffed, and the clients were not the greatest. So they're not clients that also understand the value of what we were trying to do as a business or what we were trying to deliver. So they're not really cooperative. They have their own priorities internally as well. So I did struggle a little bit, and I'd wake up and I'd cry on the weekend. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to speak to, because no one quite understands what I'm going through. Not people at work, but also not my friends, because they're thinking, why are you still in that role? Look for something else. And I could at that point, but I was there to prove something. What? I don't know. So I kept going and going and going until, at some point you will break. And that's what happened to me. And the moment where that happened was this partner called me on a Monday morning. So I had spent the whole weekend, so the whole Friday, Saturday, Sunday, working, 24/7, just to deliver what my team would have if I had one. And he calls me at like 6:30 or something. It was before 7, I remember. And he's screaming at me, where is this? Where is that? This client wants that. Like, it was a lot of things. And I was just sat there thinking, there is no one else charging time or reporting to me on this job. And you were there thinking, I'm going to magically do this. Like, I froze as he was screaming and doing all of that. And in my head, I just thought, why can't I bet on something else? Why am I gambling with my life, with my health, with my sanity, because I was about to lose it, with my reputation? I'm gambling on a lot. Why can't I bet on something completely different? Is there anything better? He's going and going. He's on the phone. He's speaking. And then in my head, I just said, bet on something better. And I hung up on this guy. And then when I hung up, I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? Like, I'm just going to get fired. What did I do? In that moment, I had a lot of clarity in terms of what mattered to me. To this guy, I was just someone who was supposed to tick through a list and get things done. He didn't think about how I was coping. Not once did he ask me, how I was doing, how well I was eating, how my family was without me. Nothing ever was asked. And here I am giving all of me to this and doing all of that. Now, a lot of people go through this in the workplace, and they don't want to be perceived as weak, or as though they're not delivering, or as though they're not up for the challenge. And so they add more and more and more onto their plates. Bet on better. There's a bigger world out there that's beyond what you see every day. You just have to stop and imagine something that's different. You may not even be able to imagine it because you've been used to just one thing, or you've been part of an idea of what good should look like, but there's a lot more out there. And so I just want to maybe encourage someone today that there's a lot more. There's a world beyond what you're doing. What you're doing is not the only thing that you can do. And if you're in an environment where you're not really thriving, things are starting to impact who you are and change who you are as a person, it may be time to think and ask yourself, is this the best thing for me? Am I in the right place? Do I need to consider other options? And maybe you have, but you haven't had the nerve, I should find a better term, to find something else. You haven't found the guts. You haven't had the guts to think of something else. Just stop and think, would they go on? Would the business move on without you? And if they can, that's not worth it. Whatever you're going through is not worth it. So that was a very, I guess, life-changing moment for me, that I just stopped. Actually, right before that particular call, I was starting to feel depressed. Okay, so I ended up calling in sick a lot, not because I wanted to, but because I was getting signed off work because of stress and depression. I got prescribed some antidepressant, and when I was taking this, it would make me feel worse. I don't know if anyone's ever been on such medication. It actually makes you feel worse. I was always tired, always wanting to sleep. So now I wasn't myself, okay? And I thought, this is not me. What am I doing? What am I taking? Like, this is not supposed to be, this is not what I had planned for myself. And it's only because I'm in an environment where I'm not thriving. It's not, nothing is working for me. You know, okay, I can't make anything work in this environment, and I'm struggling to communicate with other people. I did speak to a couple of other people at that time in the business just to say, look, this is what's happening. I do need to, you know, get some more support. And I tried to do things on my own to get the support. So I'd ring other offices. So you can actually, in that type of business, ring other offices to see if I could get stuff on my jobs, which sometimes I would for a day or two. But they come, and because they're coming for such a short period of time, they're not really in wholeheartedly, because they know they're going to be away after that. So whatever work they do is not the best quality, and even if it is, and if there are any comments that I have after that, it's there for me to close out, and not these people, because they've already left, they've gone back to their town or whatever. So I did try to communicate, but that wasn't working. I felt like I wasn't being heard. So it does happen. So all of that built up to this point where now this guy calls me, and I just thought, I've had it. I'm going to bet on something else. You're not it. And I hung up on him. And so obviously fast forward to now me having to step into my day, because this was like before 7 in the morning. So now my day is starting, and I have to now explain why I had done that and what's going to happen. So we're having this conversation. It was a difficult conversation, explaining again what I had multiple times about the situation. I'm short staffed, I don't have staffing on my jobs, you know, I'm under a lot of pressure. I need some form of flexibility, and we need to be able to have these conversations with the client, because I would have had the conversation with the client to see if we can find some form of arrangements in terms of leeway. But obviously you do have to get approval from superior people. So I couldn't just do that directly with the client. And so I had this difficult conversation with a guy, and yeah, it just dawned on me that he's not worried about my well-being. He's not thinking about it. He's worried about his metrics and how he looks good. But I did have a lot of key takeaways from that experience, though it was over maybe 2 years. It happened over 2 years, but it had quite a massive impact on my health, on my relationships, on my performance, and my self-esteem, really. So I figured maybe those are some of the lessons that you can be able to take. So firstly, don't die or kill yourself just to prove something to someone. If people cannot see the value that you bring to the table, they're probably not the right people. Yes, maybe we are different people and we do things in a different way, and so you want to demonstrate that, you know, you're going to do it in a different way, maybe a better way even. But if you're bringing something to the table and they're not valued, or it's not valued, sorry, then they're not the people for you. It is like business as well. If you are trying to bring some form of value to an audience and they're not receiving that, then they're not the right audience for you. Find your people, find your tribe that will understand the value that you bring, and only then can you strive, because you want to be able to give value to people that understand what you're doing and appreciate what you're doing. It encourages you to do more. So don't kill yourself trying to prove yourself or trying to deliver something that people don't appreciate. Go where you are appreciated. There is a bigger, much bigger world out there, whether it's clients, whether it's, you know, people that are willing to give you money, whether it's a job. There is a bigger world, much bigger than the one that you're in. You want to be able to rewrite your script. So only you can change that. No one can come and say, oh, let me look for another job for you, or let me look for a different type of client for you, or let me start a business for you. Only you can do it. So you have to rewrite your own script. No one else is going to come and do it. But rewriting means you just putting a pause in everything and thinking about how you would want things to be. Where do you want to be? I don't like to call myself a religious person, but I am rooted in Christian faith. And if I go back to that, for those that can resonate. If I go back to that, the Bible actually talks about the fact that you can get, or you can go as far as your eyes can see. So the limitation that you have is your vision or your sight. If you can't see any further than where you are, you're not going to go there. You're not going to go any further than you are. You have to stop and imagine something that is bigger than you, and only then can you work towards that. But if you don't have that vision, you are getting nothing. You perish because you lack vision. Also, my other lesson I would say is communication. So I did try to communicate in my experience at so many points, and I feel like maybe I would have quit earlier if I hadn't, but it actually helped me because I pushed on for longer and realized or learned other lessons outside what I would have if I had stopped earlier. Communication is really key. If you work with people that are reasonable, they understand only when you communicate. Sometimes the reason why people are not coming to the table or are not participating in the way that you want them to is because you're not communicating. They actually have no clue that you're experiencing that. Sometimes it takes one conversation. It doesn't mean you have to speak to the same person that's, causing you all these issues, or to confront anyone. But speaking to someone, maybe sometimes someone that's outside of that circle, but speaking to someone can shed some light on what you don't have insights in. It can show you how you can maybe approach things differently, how you can try and express yourself in your different way. Try and speak to someone. Don't bottle up, because sometimes when you bottle things up and your feelings and all of that, it only eats you from the inside. You start to manifest all these things, the negativity, the toxicity. It's impacting all areas of your life, including your health, and that's not something you want. It's just going to cause more harm than good. So talk to someone, if it's a friend or a stranger on the bus if you have to. You saying it out will actually voice what your issues are. I've learned something about psychology, and it also applies to sales. When people speak more about what their problem is or about what their challenge is. Now, note, I'm not talking about glorifying your problem, but I'm just talking about expressing it. When you express what your challenge is, you have more clarity on how to handle it. The more you speak about it, the more you know exactly what to do, because you're hearing yourself say it. So it's like someone else is speaking to you and you're thinking, how would you advise this person? And you get more clarity in terms of how you can approach that. So speaking to someone, or speaking to someone who even may not understand, but just regurgitating what's happening to you, can actually give you more clarity on how you need to tackle this, if you need to step away or remove yourself from that situation, and that will help. So communication is quite broad. It can be communicating with the people involved, but it can just also be expressing it to other people that might be able to help you directly or indirectly. Now, while it's good to be ambitious and you want to be looking for a challenge, look for something that is working towards your goals. There is no benefit in you taking on challenges that don't make you better. Why should you suffer for something that only takes you even further backwards? Okay, you want something that's going to improve you, something that you're going to have takeaways from, something that's going to get you to learn something, not something that's going to destroy you, destroy your self-esteem, destroy your own confidence. You want to be able to build that rather than destroy that. So look for challenges that actually build you, challenges that are working towards something. If you say, I want to, maybe if it's something technical, I want to be a qualified accountant, or I want to be a lawyer one day. The challenges that you're taking, are they on that path? Or are you taking something that's in admin or whatever that has nothing or will have no bearing on the objective that you have? If it's never going to build into what you're trying to do, there is no point. We deal with a lot of things already anyway in life. Why should you add on to something? Who are you trying to prove something to? Are they on your path, or are they building you on your path? And if so, and if you just want to do it for other people, then great, suffer. But I'm just saying, think about you, what works for you and what's working for you. If it's not aligned, or if you're not aligning with those challenges, then drop them. They're not worth it, and it may be something unusual or new to you, but there is a bigger world out there. So bet on better, bet on yourself, bet on something that will improve you, and bet on a future lifestyle, a better lifestyle for yourself. I hope that encouraged somebody. Again, not really my typical content. It's not technical, but it really is something that we don't talk about enough. As people, as work colleagues, we need to be thinking about our mental health, our own abilities, and how far we can go. Sometimes some things are not meant for us, some challenges are not meant for us, and we need to find different challenges or different people that work towards what we're trying to work towards. So hopefully it takes you to the new month or new week. So I'm filming this before a new month, but I hope it helps somebody today. Thanks for watching, and if you liked, I'd love to hear a lot more about your experiences as well. I could learn a thing or two from your experiences. Thanks for watching.